Alright guys, in this video, what I would like to talk about is color balance, color temperature. We're gonna run through some slides that I have made, but basically I just want you to sort of realize that the way in which we color balance our image depends on the type of light that we're in. And this all comes from like this old guy here, these film packets. What you used to be able to do is you would buy the film for the type of light that you were making your photograph in. And generally it was always like daylight balanced or it was tungsten balanced. There may have been some other fancy ones that I'm sure somebody could sort of comment below and tell me, but those were the two. In our camera, we have the ability to sort of set a white balance, and then we can also, if we're shooting in RAW, which we're shooting in camera RAW, you can change those things. So I just want to sort of talk a little bit about that, maybe more in depth, and maybe we'll head to the computer for that.
Okay guys, so now I want to talk a little bit about color temperature, and I know this is a slide and I want you to sort of go in and check that out, but I just want to sort of walk you through this. If you look here, this is how we're going to sort of deal with color temperature and color in this class, and the way that we're going to measure color temperature is going to be on the Kelvin scale. So we're going to talk about everything in degrees Kelvin, but really what we're going to be talking about, is it a warm image, or is it a cold image, or is it a neutral image? And so I just want to go through and sort of talk about what we've sort of been doing and thinking about how that relates to some of our white balance color settings. If you see here, you've got this orange side of things. So I've got like candlelight, early sunrise, like household light bulb. And so I start to think about those things where, like, if you wake up really, really early and you sort of think about what the color outside of your house looks like on a like clear early morning sunrise, it's kind of going to be in that orange warm area. If you've got a bunch of candles in your room, or you're watching Barry Lyndon, Stanley Kubrick's film, and you sort of see that everything's sort of kind of candlelit, it's going to be on this like reddish scale as well. And then like old school pre sort of fluorescent LED bulbs, most of the household light bulbs were at this like 3000 degrees Kelvin. And so you're going to see at like this 1800, just under 2000 degrees Kelvin is going to be that tungsten camera setting, okay? And then if I go to 56K, right? So 56,000 degree, 5600, I'm like so bad at like saying those numbers. 5600 degrees Kelvin, that's going to be our daylight setting. And it's not necessarily orange, but it's definitely not blue. I also start to think about those days where you have this overcast light, like it's all cloudy and you've got kind of a grayish day, but inside of that grayish day, it's actually pretty blue, and that's just a little bit above 7,000 degrees Kelvin. And so really, when it comes down to it, what I want you to be thinking about is I want you to be thinking about warm, neutral, and cold images. And that's what's going to happen when we get into our color wheel. So how we sort of balance color in our RGB color space that we're going to be using inside of Lightroom is going to be this red, green, and blue, or RGB. And then you're also going to see the C, M, Y, and K stands for black on our printing side. So I just want us to sort of be aware that we have magenta, red, and yellow are warm colors, and then blue, cyan, and green are going to be cold colors. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually sort of use the complementary colors, the colors that are opposite one another on the color wheel, to make a neutrally dense image, an image that doesn't have a color cast. Now, again, if you're photographing an early sunrise, you don't want to color correct out the warmth of that image, but you also don't want it to sort of look one way or the other, that it looks like too much of one thing, right? Too cold or too warm. So just to sort of walk through this, complementary colors are colors that are opposite one another on the color wheel, right? Red and cyan are complements, green and magenta are complements, yellow and blue are complements. So to color correct an image, you're going to basically figure out if an image is too magenta, and then you're going to add green to it. Or maybe you're going to find out that an image is too blue, and you're going to add yellow to it. And you'll sort of see those sliders in Lightroom. There's going to be a magenta and green slider and a yellow and blue slider. There is no cyan red slider, but if you do use like curves, or if you're using Photoshop, you're going to see that red cyan. Honestly, though, I wish that Lightroom would give me a red cyan slider. I don't know. Probably there's people out there like, that's insane. Also, you just want to sort of notice that we also have analogous colors. So those are colors that are side by side on the color wheel. So like green and yellow are analogous, green and cyan are analogous, and people sort of say that those make a nice sort of soothing color. So I just want to go over hue, saturation, and luminosity, or HSL. So you're going to find out that hue is the technical term for color. Red is a hue, cyan is a hue, hot pink is a hue, royal blue is a hue. Saturation is a color's intensity. So hot pink has more saturation than baby pink. Royal blue has more saturation than sky blue. Chartreuse has more saturation than pea green. And then we also want to sort of understand luminosity, which is the lightness or darkness of a color. So navy blue has less luminosity than royal blue, right? And so we just want to sort of be aware of those things. And I just want to talk real quickly before we go about the color wheel and art for RGB and CMYK. So there's two color systems that we're going to sort of be dealing with. RGB, which is visible light. So that's going to be your digital cameras, your monitor. Those are additive color processes. So the more color we add, like we overlap these colors, right? We're gonna get white. In a CMYK color space, that's used to describe our printed space or our ink, and it is a subtractive color space. So that means more color equals black. So the more colors that we add to things, we're gonna get black. So working digitally as photographers and making prints, we move from an RGB color system to a CMY color system. We can fine-tune our color using adjustment layers, Adobe Camera Raw, and color conversion profiles. And so I just want you to sort of like check out these charts and sort of understand that we're going to really need to understand this color wheel of magenta, red, and yellow, green, cyan, and blue, and magenta, red, and yellow being the warm side, and blue, cyan, and green being the cold side. This would be a cool tattoo. Also, I think I've spelled some things wrong. But if you have any questions about color, let me know.